Welcome to the deep dive. We take sources today. It's a really insightful chess book, and we pull out the key ideas for you efficiently. No fluff.
And today we're tackling the Tarrasch Formula from Grandmaster Sam Palatnik and National Master Mark Ishii's book.
Right, the Tarrasch Formula. It sounds, well, maybe a bit technical.
It can seem that way, but the core idea is surprisingly simple. One badly placed piece makes your whole position bad. Sounds basic almost, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does seem kind of obvious when you put it like that.
But digging into it, understanding the why and the how, that can seriously change how you look at a chess position.
Okay, so that's our mission today. We're looking at where this came from. Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch.
Exactly. Tarrasch and how his ideas connected back to Wilhelm Steinitz, the first world champion. And then we'll see how Palatnik and Ishii show it working in practice. Real games.
And the benefit for you listening is getting this powerful new way to evaluate positions, a strategic shortcut almost.
You could say that. Instead of drowning in variations, you focus on this key element, piece placement. Where are the pieces really standing? It helps you make better decisions.
All right, let's jump in. The origins. Dr. Siegbert Tarrasch. Tell us about him.
Okay, so Tarrasch, a huge figure in chess history. He was a big follower of Steinitz.
Steinitz, the father of modern positional chess.
The very one. Steinitz had these deep, sometimes complicated theories about positional play. Tarrasch, well, he had this amazing knack for boiling them down.
Making them practical.
Precisely. Turning them into these, memorable rules or axioms you could actually use in a game. His book, 300 Chess Games, is still a classic for that reason, full of timeless strategic advice.
And this idea, the Tarrasch Formula,
Yeah.
that was one of his big contributions.
Yes, he was really the first one to clearly state that a single piece stuck on a bad square doesn't just sit there doing nothing. It actively weakens your entire setup.
Right, it's not just dormant, it's like a liability.
Exactly. It highlights how interconnected everything is on the board. A piece's location directly impacts its power, its real strength.
Which ties into that market price idea you mentioned from the book.
Yes, Palatnik and Ishii use that term market price. We think of a bishop as worth 3 pawns, right? That's the base value. But its actual value, its market price in that specific position, fluctuates wildly depending on where it is and what else is on the board.
So like a bishop blocked by its own pawns.
Right. Imagine that classic bad bishop hemmed in on c1 or f1, pawns on squares of the same color right in front of it.
It's basically just a tall pawn at that point.
Exactly. The book argues its value drops to maybe just 1 pawn in that scenario. And if you don't have compensation elsewhere, if your other pieces aren't pulling extra weight, that deficit, it can lead to strategic bankruptcy, essentially.
Strategic bankruptcy. I like that.
Mm.
Okay, theory makes sense. How do we use this? How do we spot the bad piece in a real game?
Well, the book uses a fantastic analogy, the sick buffalo.
The sick buffalo.
Yeah. Think of lions hunting on the savannah. They don't just charge the whole herd head on, right? That's dangerous.
No, they look for an easier target.
Exactly. They scan the herd, looking for the one that's lagging, maybe injured, maybe young, maybe just separated, the one that's, well, badly placed relative to the safety of the others.
Okay. I see where this is going. The herd is the opponent's coordinated pieces.
Precisely. And the Tarrasch Formula tells us, don't always go for the massive frontal assault. Instead, patiently maneuver. Identify that one sick buffalo in their setup, that badly placed piece.
And then focus on that piece.
Yes. Work to reduce its power, restrict its movement, cut off its escape routes, make it even more useless. If you can effectively neutralize one enemy piece this way.
It's like being a piece up, even if you haven't captured anything.
Exactly. It's a strategic advantage that can be just as decisive as winning material.
So it's subtle. Strategic pressure rather than just brute force tactics.
Often, yes. And it frequently involves prophylaxis, taking steps to prevent your opponent from improving that piece or finding counterplay.
Restricting their options.
Right. Which can lead to blockade, where the piece is totally shut down. And in the best case, zugzwang.
Zigzwang, where any move they make just hurts them more. The ultimate squeeze.
That's the ultimate expression of dominating piece placement, yeah.
Yeah.
Nimzovich talked a lot about prophylaxis and blockade too, didn't he?
He did. And Palatnik and Ishii point out, interestingly, that while Tarrasch and Nimzovich apparently didn't get along personally,
Yes. Chess history is full of personalities.
their strategic ideas actually complement each other really well.
They absolutely do. It's all part of the same positional understanding.
Okay, let's get concrete. The book uses lots of game examples. Can we look at a few, focusing on this badly placed piece idea? Maybe start with knights.
Sure, knights can often end up on awkward squares. There's Marshal Ragozin, which touches on pawns versus knights, but piece placement was key. A clearer one might be Furman Polievsky.
What happened there?
Black put his knight on b6. Seems okay, maybe. But in the context of the position, it became, as the book calls it, an ugly piece. Yeah. It got stuck. It couldn't easily rejoin the game, and it actually blocked Black's own queenside development. White exploited that immobility.
So a piece deep in enemy territory isn't always good if it's cut off or hindering your own forces.
Exactly. It needs support, needs purpose. Then there's Kira's Unzicker. That one shows the idea of virtual extra material.
Virtual extra material, what's that?
White had this knight on e4, seemed central, but it was totally isolated from the key battle. It couldn't influence the critical sector.
So even though it's still on the board?
It's effectively absent from the real fight. So according to the Tarrasch Formula, the side with the active pieces essentially has extra material playing the game. It's like having a soldier lost miles from the front line.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's not just about spotting bad pieces. Rosenberg-Palatnik shows the flip side.
A well-placed piece.
Exactly. Black had a knight strongly posted on f4, and it just radiated influence across the board. Good placement has that positive ripple effect, just like bad placement has a negative one.
So you want to create those strong posts for your pieces while trying to make your opponent's pieces ugly or virtual.
That's the strategic battle, yes. And you see it again and again. Petrosian-Palatnik. White's targeting a potentially loose knight. Palatnik Klinger, Murthy Palatnik. Knights getting stuck on squares like a3, becoming liabilities.
What about that Karpov-Taimanov Knights Tour game? That sounds like a counterexample.
That's a fascinating one. Yes, Karpov's knight looked really passive for a while, almost trapped. You might think, Tarrasch Formula in action, that knight is bad.
Wow.
But Karpov brilliantly rerouted it, maneuvered it across the board, step by step, until it landed on a killer square on the king side.
So the formula was wrong there.
Not wrong, but it highlights the dynamic aspect. Badly placed isn't always permanent. A key skill is seeing the potential for a piece to become well-placed, even if it looks awkward right now. Karpov saw the path. It underscores that evaluation isn't static.
So context and potential are crucial. Where it is now and where can it go?
Precisely. Okay, should we shift to bishops? The book talks about the bishop on an open highway.
An open highway?
Yeah.
Sounds good for a bishop, right? Long diagonals?
You'd think so, but look at Balashov-Romanishin. White put a bishop on g5, wide open diagonal, looks active.
Right.
But it became a target. It was exposed, couldn't easily retreat. The book calls it a one-way ticket to nowhere.
Huh. So open doesn't always mean safe or effective.
Not at all. And they contrast it with Sprekic-Palatnik, where a similar-looking bishop move was good because the context was different. It always depends.
Context.
Always. Then you have Palatnik-Aristorenas, where a light-squared bishop became the criminal, as they put it. It got trapped after a pawn sacrifice. No escape. Game over, essentially, because of that one misplaced piece.
Wow. Trapped like that.
Yeah, and other examples, too. Palatnik-Gofield, exploiting bishop maneuvering problems. Grubik-Palatnik, where a bishop went to h4, looked aggressive, but just became a target, overextended.
It seems bishops can be surprisingly vulnerable if not placed carefully.
They can be. Even Kasparov, in a game against Ponomaryov, apparently improved an opening line based specifically on creating problems for one of Black's pieces, applying this Tarrasch principle right from the start.
Applying it to opening prep. Makes sense.
And there's the idea of fencing in pieces, too, like in Palatnik-Vasikov, using pawns to restrict minor pieces, making them badly placed by limiting their scope.
Kind of like building a cage around them.
Sort of, yeah. Or think about the classic French defense bishop on c8.
Ah, the stereotypical bad bishop of the French.
Right. The book uses a great phrase. It's like a passenger with a broken leg. Initially, it seems misplaced, maybe even bad.
But it has potential.
Exactly. If Black can get it out, often via b7 or a6, it can become a monster. So even a piece that seems constrained might just be waiting for its moment. You have to trust its potential sometimes.
That's a good nuance. Okay, what about the big guns? Rooks and queens? Does the formula apply equally?
Absolutely. Smyslov-Toulouche is a great example. Black just couldn't get his queenside rook and queen into the game effectively. White used that lack of coordination, that inactivity, those badly placed heavy pieces to build up a winning advantage.
So it's about their activity level, too.
Definitely. Ishii Maynard shows a misplaced queen causing immediate tactical issues. Diaz-Palatnik had unbalanced material, but the activity of minor pieces compensated for a perhaps less active queen on the other side. It always comes back to relative placement and influence.
And the starving rook.
Ah, yes, Artem Palatnik. White ended up with a rook stuck on e1, but the files were all closed by pawns. It had nowhere to go, nothing to attack. A powerful piece rendered impotent by its placement. Starving for action.
Starving rook, ugly knight, criminal bishop. These labels really help visualize the concept.
They do, don't they? It drives home that any piece, no matter its base value, can become a major weakness if it's on the wrong square at the wrong time.
And the ultimate sign that you've totally outplayed your opponent positionally using these ideas is, right, you've restricted them so much, every piece is essentially badly placed because any move just makes things worse.
Exactly. Total paralysis. It's the ultimate demonstration of the Tarrasch Formula's power. The book has some neat examples leading to that.
Does this thinking affect opening choices too? Beyond just spotting opportunities later.
Oh, definitely. You might choose openings specifically aiming to create imbalances where your opponent might struggle with piece placement. The book mentions the Neophilidor or the Palatnik gambit,
Okay.
where a key strategic idea is to put pressure on White's knight, often the one on c3, trying to make it awkward or less effective down the line.
So you're planting the seeds of potential bad placement right from move 1 or 2.
That's the idea. It's all part of trying to find what the authors call cruise control for your chess.
Cruise control. Explain that.
Well, the goal of the book and this whole way of thinking isn't to give you like a million rules. It's to help you identify the most important thing happening in a position.
The key factor to focus on.
Exactly. Like setting cruise control in your car lets you focus on steering and the road, not constantly adjusting speed. Identifying a badly placed piece or aiming to improve your own worst piece gives you that strategic focus.
It stops you from getting lost in calculation.
It helps, yeah. You prioritize the strategical crucial elements. And coming from Palatnik, a top GM and coach, and Ishii, a respected NM and teacher, you know it's grounded in deep experience.
Okay, this has been super insightful. If you had to boil it down to one key takeaway for someone listening.
I'd say it's this. The Tarrasch Formula is this elegant yet really practical lens. Look at piece placement first. How does each piece impact the whole board? That focus can unlock a lot of strategic understanding.
So look for the sick buffalo. Improve your own starring rook. Focus on placement, and you can gain a real edge without always needing super deep calculations.
That's the promise, yes. It encourages a more, holistic view. Try it when you look at games yours or master games. Ask, which piece is worth placed here? See what emerges.
That's great advice. And it makes you wonder, this idea of one bad element affecting the whole system, does that echo outside of chess? In teams, projects, maybe even just life?
That's a really interesting thought to ponder, isn't it? Where else does one misplaced element throw everything off balance? Definitely something to think about.
Indeed. Maybe we can delve into some more of those specific games or related ideas in future deep dives.
Sounds like a plan. Until then, happy hunting for those badly placed pieces.